So this is Rams with Wild Left Religion. I'm going to tell y'all something that you're going to find interesting. How history repeats itself. How what the Sumerians talked about 8,000 years ago, we repeated, and in the same process have been repeating it. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. It's going to sound fanciful, but you'll be all right. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're not watching this on YouTube, get your ass over on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube page. But here's the thing. Hit that bell icon. Hit that thank you, that super post, thank you post, whatever it's called. Comment. Get a video made. Now here's the thing. Here's a story. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Jed. Pool Mountain near Better kept the family fed. Then one day he was shooting for some food and up through the ground came a bubbling. That's not the story I'm going to tell you. The story I'm going to tell you about is the Anunnaki story in a very condensed format. But I'm going to show you how it's relatable to what we've experienced in our lives and what we've seen in our own history and how we are repeating that same history. You see, the story starts about 440,000 years ago. When you have the planet Nibiru, this is the 12th planet, the dark planet way out there. According to the Sumerians said that this is dictated to them by Enki and then by other Anunnaki, okay? And then one is claimed that Enki is writing it himself. So for a gentleman who had asked me who wrote some of it, some of the tablets, Enki claimed, it is claimed to be written by Enki himself. So, but like I know the Emerald tablets are claimed to be written by Thoth, you know, it's first person. But anybody could have wrote that shit and just wrote it in first person, to be honest. But here's the deal. 444,000 years ago. 440,000 years ago. The planet Nibiru on this elongated cycle around the sun goes through 3 seasons. Cold season, hot season, wet season. But the thing about it is that they have the north and they have the south. The north and the south were in war, always in war, constantly in war. And they were utilizing all their resources for this war. Now, their war went to the point of a nuclear war. Now, their nuclear war was different from what a nuclear war would be here on Earth. A nuclear war on Earth has so much radiation destruction that it will just destroy the whole planet. Nothing will be able to live. So let me say right now, their version of nuclear energy, our version of nuclear energy is not exactly the same, which would make sense scientifically, because what you create on one planet does not mean it's going to have the same effects and be the same on a whole nother planet, right? It's just like there are fruits that you can, it's a weird thing. I live in Georgia, peach state, right? Peaches in Georgia do not taste as good as peaches in South Carolina. The soil is different. I smoke cigars. You can get a Cuban seeded cigar, but if it's grown in Nicaragua, it's going to taste differently than a Cuban seeded that's grown in the Dominican. It's going to taste like the soil. So what we have is that they're on this planet. They're having a nuclear war. The nuclear war becomes so devastating that it bashes their atmosphere. Every time they come close to the sun, the radiation levels increase. Much like we have back in the 80s, it was all about the hole in the ozone layer. Some of my old heads gonna remember that with me. We had a hole in the ozone layer that was letting ultraviolet rays enter into our atmosphere, and the fear was it was gonna kill us, it's gonna poison us, right? So Nibiru was having this problem, just like we had that problem. So they decided that they were going to elect a king. If the king was from the north, then the wife would come from the south. If the king was from the south, then the wife would come from the north. So a king from the north won, and the queen was from the south. And then that king said, the way that we're going to do is we're going to come together, and the rule of ascension will be this: whoever is born from me and her, they are the next one. But then later on, it was also augmented to be that you have to be born in the same bloodline. Now, think about our history. Ancient cultures all over the world, up until about 100 years ago, about 100 years ago, and even still today, they marry within their families. They marry according to bloodline. King Charles the Fourth, I believe, or the second, daddy was also, his father was also his grandfather or his great uncle. In your own in your own Bible, Moses' mother is also his aunt. But Jacob marries his cousins This happens. It was always this bloodline thing. We've seen, and even outside of this Bible, we see kings always marrying their sister, nieces, cousins, princes always marrying their cousins and nieces and sisters and all this kind of thing. So this was learned from the Anunnaki. So then after a while, what we get to where we got Alalu is king. Alalu is king, and during his reign, Alalu says, in order for us to fix the environment, we got two options. We need this mineral source, this gold. We don't have enough on our own planet, but we can go out into the stars and we can check out these other planets and see if we can find some gold. We can spray that monatomic gold in the atmosphere, and it will then reflect the sun, the UV rays from the sun. Or we can throw a whole bunch of nukes into a volcano, make them explode, throw up an ash cloud, and so that it'll block the sun, the UV radiation from the sun. Well, an expedition of going out and trying to seek and find it, it's a lot of unknown, and these are politics that's going on here. So we can't do that necessarily. But if we go ahead and throw the volcano, that's a quick fix for a long-term problem. Much like our politicians do today. Much like we do in our own lives today for the most part. We will search out a quick fix for a long-term problem instead of taking the time to do the right thing the right way. People will come into the lounge, they'll hear me say a lot, there's the wrong way, there's the right way, the wrong way, and then there's the Reed way. My way is a little bit right, a little bit wrong. So Alalu does this, and then Alalu, it doesn't work. Anu becomes king. Anu kicks his ass, he becomes king. Alalu leaves, and he takes the nuclear weapons with him, and then he flies and he comes to Earth. When he gets to Earth, he radios back to Nibiru and says, hey, I'm here, I'm on Earth, I found the gold that we need to fix the atmosphere, and I got the nuclear missile. If y'all don't let me be king again, I'm gonna blow this motherfucker up. I'm gonna blow the Earth up Nibiru up when y'all come back around. Well, at this time frame, Anu has two sons. One named Enlil, the younger one named Enki. Enki can't be king because he was born through a concubine. We've seen this in our history as well, right? Look at the promise of Abraham. Cannot be given to Ishmael because he was born from the concubine slave wife of Hagar, not the promised wife of Sarah. And the younger son, Isaac, he gets the promise, right? Same shit. So, Enki and Enlil. Enki's from the concubine wife. Enlil is from the actual bloodline wife. So, Enki says, you know what, I can't be king. Let me go down here to Earth, let me gain some favor. So he flies down. He kick a little butt. He kicked a lot of those butt. He takes the gold. He says, yes, there's gold. And he also got the missiles. Radios home. Now I want you to think about something. In your Bible, it says that when it gives a description of the Garden of Eden, it has that line, and there was much gold in the land. Just think about it. If you believe in Jesus and the Bible, Abraham and all that, if it's only Adam and Eve on the planet, what good is gold? What's the value of gold? Gold should have no value. If there's only two people on the planet, why does it matter that there is gold? There's no trade. If they can eat from all the trees and everything, what do they need of gold? If they got shelter, they got food, they got everything they need, why do they need gold? Because it comes from the Sumerian story, and that's why they mention gold. So, they find it. Now I want you to think about this. Resources. Keep resources in your mind for a second. So then they start their gold expedition. They send down, few hundred of the lower caste Anunnaki. They come to Earth. They start mining procedures. They're mining the gold. The Anunnaki at this point are mining the gold. And for about 40,000 years, the Anunnaki are mining the gold. But then, Enki being a scientist, he fuck around. He see that there's this sub-race of beings on Earth. And he figures out that if he added his DNA material to theirs, that their level of intelligence and abilities will drastically increase. So skip letting it happen naturally. I want to do it quickly. Let us make man. Now, he realizes this, but in order to do his experiment, he tells the workers, hey, y'all need to be disruptive and say that y'all tired of doing all this work and y'all working too hard. And then his brother Enlil, younger brother, had come to Earth, and Enlil was gonna be like, hell no, y'all need to keep on working, unionizing. So basically, Enki formed the first union. Then when they get into this whole argument, Anu comes down and say, you know what, they are working too hard. Enki suggests, hey, why don't we create this slave race, a race, these beings who can do the work for us. I've been messing around with man's genome in the Apsu, Southern Africa, and we can manifest this. Enlil says just as long as they can't reproduce, because if they can reproduce, they'll come into their own understanding and then they'll revolt against us. Enki says, all right. So Enki and Harsag, Enlil, and Anu down in the Apsu, and they said, let us create man in our own image by using our DNA in order to accelerate this humanoid creature. They go 16 different variations of them. Some of them die, some of them live. Hence, all your different Cro-Magnums and Neanderthals and all that kind of stuff. They make them, but then you finally get to the two that work. Well, the group that worked out. So they take that group and they put them in Eden, in the enclosure in Eden, to manage the humanoids that they've manifested, that they've created. The only problem is that Adam and Titi, actually, it's Adapa and Titi, can reproduce. And so when Enlil is walking in the enclosure in the cool of the day, he sees that Titi is pregnant. That's the forbidden fruit. So they created a slave race to do their labor because they needed a resource. European colonization began. European exploration began because of Europe's inability to provide enough resources for the people in Europe. So they had to go out and find other places to gain their resources. Initially, they went out, they traded with Africans, they traded with the Chinese, they traded with the Levant, they traded initially. But then they realized, hey, we have higher technology, the same as the Anunnaki, these people we're trading with. Fuck them. Let's just take them, kill them, make them into a slave race, tell them that they're subhuman, that they're beneath us. Let's get that white supremacy thing going. And in doing so, they enslaved other humans just like the Anunnaki enslaved humans. All humans. We can say that this began with the Romans, but now all cultures had slavery. So I just used the European version because that's the one most people know. All cultures have done this. Enslaved people for resources, to do work so that they can live on high and make those others live on low and enslave them. Now we get to a part after they've created man, we skip. We get to Marduk. Marduk is Enki's son, and Ninurta is Enlil's son. Marduk is pissed because he can't become king of Nibiru, so he wants to be king of Earth. So Marduk he gets married to a human, and then Marduk starts telling humans that, hey, if you believe in me, follow me, then when you die, you will go to heaven and live with me. Marduk begins to institute the ideas of religion. And by instituting the ideas of religion, knowing that on the higher ups, they understand universal law. You see, Anu and Enki, Enlil, all the Anunnaki understood universal law. The law of mentality, mentalism, the law of correspondence, the law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, and the law of gender. They understood those laws as the governing laws of the universe, and that the creative energy that created the universe is within and a part of everything. So they understood that. But Marduk said, if you believe in me, you get to go to heaven and live with me, because they believe that these Anunnaki must be gods because they lived for so long. And he told them they were gods. So he created religion. And through that religion, he was able to control the humans and then start creating revolts against the other Anunnakis. Do we not see how religion has been used throughout time immemorial to create alliances between people groups so that we can fight? The entire Arab nation was paganistic, had different, believed in multiple gods. It wasn't until they took Islam and used that to teach all the people and form this whole thing, this Arab nation that was able to conquer North Africa and all throughout the Iberian and Italian peninsula. So it correlates in that. Then we do the same thing. And I'm gonna get to the final part here, because somebody just walked in and I need to open the lounge. And I have no idea what time it is. And I don't care that he over there shaking his head. But anyway, I digress. Marduk and Ninurta are in conflict. Ninurta says that he is the ruler of Earth. Marduk says that he is the ruler of Earth. These are the two bloodlines. How many times in our own history have we seen two bloodlines go at war with each other over who should be ruling? To hell with the people, but who should rule because of bloodline? Now, in a council of the Anunnaki, it is agreed that it is not Marduk's rule. But Marduk said, to hell with y'all, I'm going to fight a war then against you because I got all the humans on my side. They fight a war. Anu said, do not use nuclear weapons because he recognized it'll mess up the environment just like we did on Nibiru. But they go ahead and use it anyway. Ninurta blasts two of Marduk's cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. But then the radiation cloud from there flows down and destroys 7 other cities that were completely abandoned. We found the archaeological evidence of those 7 cities. And it's also in a book called The Evil Winds. So, fact is, did we not have our own nuclear arms race? America against Russia. We try to keep anybody else from creating nuclear weapons. Because we know what would happen if they're used. Because we saw it used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We saw the issue with Chernobyl when they messed up a nuclear reactor. So just like they used it back then, we've used it now, and we see the wisdom of it now, because after it was used, it was all outlawed. And then Anu decided, you know what? This is why everybody got in their book, there was a war in the heavens. You gods cannot fight. You Anunnakis cannot fight. Take those in your bloodline who got the most Anunnaki blood, who are human, and set them up as kings and queens. And teach them our secret ways so that they will be able to stay under our control. You ever notice how the Germans during World War II, you may not notice, you have to study shit to know it, they would go down into Antarctica and then come back with fucking rockets. They would go down into Antarctica and come back with jet engines. Go down to Antarctica and come back with chemical warfare. Maybe the Anunnaki are living on the south side. Government don't want you to know that. So at the end of the day, we see that history has repeated itself several times. That what we have been doing is just repeating what our forefathers, our genetic forefathers, the Anunnaki, have been doing. And instead of those in control teaching the people differently so that we don't keep repeating the process, because those in control, do you not think just as humans took over from the Anunnaki that we will not take over from you? Just because you were put in place by the Anunnaki, do you think that there will not come a time where you will not be in control either? If history repeats itself, you see the change that happened from the Anunnaki to the humans that are in control. Do you not see that a new kind of human will come into control and you will lose yours and have to go in hiding as the Anunnaki has went into hiding? But the difference is, because the information is out there and the will is different, unlike how the Anunnaki made you into a puppet regime and you made others into puppet regimes, we will not be a puppet regime. You will not have that control. It may be in my lifetime, it may not, but you will not have it. So I say that we should tell the world the truth. Tell everybody the true history of humanity, the true history of our planet. And maybe we come together, but not under bullshit rules of kingships and bloodlines, but through true humanity of caring for one another and sharing with one another. Do something different. Break the chain of history and be different. But that's just me, the dreamer. So, but I like how my dreams often come reality. So remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.